Yo, let me stop stealing Dante shit. But nah, we watched the trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine. Now it's time to go to the new Rockstars trailer. Hold on, before I even get to it, which I know about new Rockstars, bro. I remember, bro. After every Marvel movie, bro, or trailer, you used to see this face right here. You see this guy come up, EA Boss. Hold on.
New Rockstars, I'm Eric Boss.
I said EA Boss. You see Eric Boss' face pop up, and you click that video. I remember, now they got a whole team of people who do videos, but like back in the day, it used to just be him. He was the only person making videos like on Marvel stuff. Well, I ain't gonna say he was the only person, but like he was the only person like you would see on camera making these Marvel videos, these breakdowns, they didn't used to do trailer reactions back in the day. They would watch the trailer on their old time. They would do the trailer breakdown, and then when the movie dropped, they would drop they would do the movie breakdown, and like they would break down post credit scenes, all that, like different like types of popping movies, bro. And I like, cause at first it used to just be like they was gravitated more towards the Marvel movies, but like now I'm glad they kind of like stepped out of just doing Marvel content, and like they kind of do content for like whatever they're interested in, or like what's popping now, cause like they do Transformers stuff now. They do they was doing some, I think they was doing some Tarantino stuff at one point. Like they did John Wick. Like this channel, I love this channel, bro. Everybody knows about this channel now. Like this is the go-to channel. Like when you just watch a movie, like after you come home from the movie, like a Marvel movie you just watch, you pull this up. This is the first thing you go on YouTube and look up. You go to New Rockstars, you find that video of the movie breakdown, and you watch this. And then sometimes it's either they'll put the post credit jump in this one, or they'll make a whole new video of it just breaking down the post credit jump. And then sometimes, if you get lucky, when it release on digital, you'll get another breakdown of the stuff that you miss, which is crazy. Like I remember seeing Ready Player One in theaters. They broke the movie down. I watched the breakdown, and I was like, damn, I don't even remember seeing that. I gotta go back and watch it. And then they did another jump, I believe, when the jump came out on digital, or it came out when you could have it at home. They did another breakdown, and it was like 30 more. Like the video was like almost 30 minutes. But nah, we gonna go ahead and check this out. This is definitely a dude that you grew up with. Like he was a part of your early teenage years. Like he was a part of your childhood, bro. He don't get the recognition he deserved. Like I don't even think he realize that. Like he holds an impact on people's childhood. He definitely holds an impact on my childhood for sure.
And this is a frame-by-frame breakdown of the new trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine. I scrubbed through this trailer to find every Easter egg you might have.
Now, if before y'all watch this, go watch my trailer reaction of it. It's up on the channel. And I didn't break this down, but I did like point some stuff out that I seen. Let's see if I got them right. But go watch the trailer if you haven't though. Watch the trailer first. And then actually watch the trailer that I reviewed. Watch this trailer that I reviewed on my channel. And then come back and watch this video.
Have missed, and thank Marvel Jesus that I took my time with this, because there are dozens of details hidden in between the obvious highlight cameos that I can't believe are hidden in this trailer. I'm gonna cover it all for you, and you can support New Rockstars with one of our Deadpool and Wolverine shirts. Or
how do they do this? Like they really be. I wonder what this shirt is right here. Cause why is it blurred out because it's like bloody, or is it blurred out because it's like it's supposed to be a surprise type shit? But like, how do they get the licenses to do that? Like, they can just drop merch like this, unless they have like a graphic designer type shit. That's the only other way I could see that, like being able to drop something like this. But I ain't gonna lie, that one in the middle is fire. I like the Gambit shirt, but I don't like it on the purple. But that one in the middle is clean.
Or one of our other Marvel designs over at nerdriot.shop. All right, let's get started.
I told you, you're not welcome here. You're not welcome anywhere. Now get the fuck out of my bar.
Just give me one more drink and then I'll leave.
Hi, Peanut. I'm gonna need you to come with me right now.
Okay, so the trailer opens in a bar in where else? Canada! There are Canadian flags hanging throughout the bar. There's also a Calgary Flames logo over Deadpool's shoulder. Canada is obviously important to Ryan Reynolds, where he comes from, but in the universe, it is the origin point and the refuge of Wolverine when he wants to go off the grid. This shot approaching Logan from behind reminds us of the shot of Logan from the Wolverine Insomniac
I said this
game trailer. And
Say hello
Hi. Oh no.
to your imaginary
just to the right of Logan on this bar top is this jar with a label. Just put the tip in, see how it feels. And I'm pretty sure those are blue.
That's crazy. How do they even point that out? Like that looks so blurry to me. And I'm like right here close to the screen looking at it. Like that looks blurry. I wonder how they like they really got some detectives over there.
Two condoms in the jar. So obviously it's a sex joke, but this bar is double dipping on collecting tips while encouraging safe sex, which I imagine is completely lost on the barflies we see in the background of this bar. Of course, we often see Wolverine in bar fights, from the 2000 X-Men film when he severed that shotgun, to 2011's X-Men First Class when he told Charles and Eric to go f themselves, to the 2013 bar fight with the dudes who killed that bear, and then the removed ending scene from the 2013 film that would have called back that same bar in the 2000 X-Men film. But I'm wondering, could this bar fight be the man with metal claws fights in bar brawl from the headline in S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Because people were saying that this Wolverine is not the Wolverine from Logan. Like that timeline, that whole X-Men timeline, this is not that Wolverine. They saying this is a new Wolverine. Like this is a different timeline Wolverine, a different universe Wolverine, I should say. Which I hope it is. I don't know. But that means if this wouldn't make sense, or we have this and mutants are just under wraps, or Logan is just like hiding out for real and this just secured during our timeline. But I don't think this Logan is in our timeline. I don't think these are two different timelines.
You'll notice Hugh Jackman in this movie has similar hair length and appearance to that 2013 James Mangold Wolverine film, which, after the first three X-Men films and 2009's X-Men Origins Wolverine, was really the first to reconceive Logan as a more grounded, tortured human just struggling with his aging body. And as I watch this trailer, I'm just reminded of how good of an actor Hugh Jackman is and how much he's bringing to this movie. Now, this bartender tells Logan that he's not welcome here, he's not welcome anywhere. It's not really clear if Logan is being discriminated against as a mutant, or if this bartender knows that he's Wolverine and that Wolverine disappointed mutant kind by letting a lot of the mutants die. Or, you know, Logan could just be some asshole who doesn't pay his tab. But this bartender is played by Greg Hemphill, actor and writer from Still Game, but notice how his audio doesn't match what the bartender actually seems to be doing here.
I told you, you're not welcome here.
Yeah.
You're not welcome anywhere.
Notice how you don't really see his mouth move? And if he's cutting Logan off from drinks, why does this bartender reach for the whiskey to pour him another round? Really, I just think the bartender does say these words, it's just in a different part of the scene. And they're using trailer editing to reconstruct it here. Now, the new poster released for this film on Sunday evoked the poster for the 2017 Logan film, the one that had X-23 Laura's hand grabbing one of Wolverine's claws, and this poster has Deadpool kind of flirtingly stroking it with his finger. So despite Ryan Reynolds promising that they would not touch the events of the Logan film, they are totally going there. And remember, the reason things were so nightmarish in that 2017 Logan film is that we learned in that movie that anti-mutant toxins had been fed into the food supply through corn syrup. But if Logan's diet consists mostly of aged whiskey, there's no way tainted corn syrup would have gotten into those barrels, especially if it was aged whiskey. So our man's really 12 steps ahead, and he's probably gonna need to get started on the other 12 steps. And I like how Deadpool calls Logan Peanut, which is the nickname Scott Lang calls his daughter Cassie. And there is a giant Ant-Man corpse in this trailer, and I don't really know if it's connected, but we'll talk about it more later. Let's move on.
Look, lady, I'm not interested.
All right, well, I'm sort of on the tick-tick, so upsy daisy. Here we go. Oh, whiskey dick of the claws. It's quite common in Wolverines over 40.
You don't want this.
Unless you want to take a deep breath through your forehead, I suggest you reconsider.
Okay, so Logan tells Deadpool, look, lady, I'm not interested, which seems like a dig at Deadpool's slim figure, but the Super Bowl trailer included a brief shot of Deadpool's gloves firing Uzis, and those were different gloves than what Deadpool normally has in this trailer.
I think I know what he's about to say. I think this universe that we're getting Logan from, Wolverine, maybe they do have Deadpool, but it's the girl Deadpool. And so he might be saying that because he's like, oh, I've seen you around. I'm not interested in what you like going with that group y'all got. I'm not interested in that shit. He could potentially say that.
Which makes us think that the rumors that we will see a lady Deadpool could be true, and that she might be played by Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively. Deadpool says that he's sort of on the tick-tick, and remember, with this new suit, Deadpool would have just come directly from the TVA, and he may have run into Miss Minutes, and he's kind of got a TVA time clock and Miss Minutes on his mind. But Wolverine's adamantium claws only extend about an inch out of his knuckles, which Wade cannot help but make an erectile dysfunction joke about. And in 2017's Logan, his opening fight with the thugs at the road stop has a similar moment where two out of his three claws extend almost fully, but the third one just gets jammed, embarrassingly. Deadpool points his gun at Logan's head, and you can see "Smile, wait for the flash" engraved on the tip, and I like how Logan leans into the gun with a smile forming on his face as if he's obeying these instructions and waiting patiently for the bang. Wolverine has taken shots to the head before, like in X2 from the Boston PD, where his healing ability pushed the bullet back out, or in X-Men Origins of Wolverine, where Stryker shot him with an adamantium bullet that wiped his memories. In the 2017 Logan film, he carries around another adamantium bullet, which is implied will kill him, especially when X-23 Laurie uses it to kill Logan's adult X-24 clone. But whether memory loss or certain death, Wolverine welcomes either result. Let's move on.
I'm about to lose everything that I've ever cared about.
Not my fucking problem.
Is that what you said when your world went to shit?
Come again.
Okay, so we can't really play it for you because it's licensed music, but the music we hear throughout this trailer is Madonna's Like a Prayer, a 1989 title that was meant to be a reference to her breakout earlier hit Like a Virgin. But for this song, Madonna's lyrics were meant to show her maturation with gospel elements, a song told from the point of view of a girl declaring her love for God, the only man in her life. But whether or not Madonna and her songwriter meant it sincerely or kind of, like subvertively, we'll never know. But the music video for Like a Prayer featured a black Jesus being crucified in kind of this flirty relationship with Madonna, and narratively in the music video, this Jesus was a scapegoat, falsely arrested after a bunch of white men killed a white woman. And this music video was very controversial. A number of religious groups, including the Vatican, condemned it. But Ryan Reynolds, I believe, uses the song of Like a Prayer in a few different ways in this trailer. One, he kind of uses it with this ironic wink, as it is an 80s pop ballad, contrasting this aggressively violent, virile energy of this trailer. But it does kind of feel like Wade is embracing the only man in his life as Wolverine stands over Deadpool, kind of like a god finding a soul in the afterlife. But also, obviously, the song reflects the idea of Deadpool himself being Marvel Jesus. Now, what does he really mean by saying he's Marvel Jesus? I don't think he means he's like a hero or a god, but really like a sacrificial sin eater. I think it means that Deadpool's gonna try to take the place of Logan and every other Marvel anchor whose death results in the death of the universe. Someone online have pointed out that this day, 36 years ago, April 22nd, 1989, Like a Prayer topped the Billboard charts, beginning a 6-week run. But Ryan Reynolds responded saying that totally was not planned. Okay.
Peacock is the exclusive streaming home of Oppenheimer, winner of 7 Academy Awards, including...
Okay, we move on to the...
Some things just like happen and it's like not planned. Like he said that this released the same day, whatever, that was released or had something to do with something. And like the shit wasn't planned. Like that's crazy. That's crazy.
The dusty wasteland of the void, or just what we assume is the void, because it does have like a different vegetation than what we saw in Loki episode 5. Once again, we see the partially submerged 20th century Fox logo, and the X of the word Fox remains visible above the ground. As in Fox's X-Men movies, they often would linger the X for a few frames on the opening fades to black. And ever since Disney's buyout of Fox, the division has been forced to drop the Fox and just go by 21st century. Also visible in this place is the tip of Toronto's CN Tower, obviously another Canada reference. There's also the stern of this vessel. I was trying to figure out what this was. I was wondering maybe it's the shell of the USS Eldridge from Loki episode 5 when Eliath devoured it. Or maybe it's the helicarrier where Deadpool fought Francis in the 2016 Deadpool. Either way, this is a pretty small ship. It's not like,
I don't know. Was there a ship in First Class? I've only seen that movie like twice.
With the stern of the Titanic
really,
or something.
not
And
really.
behind the 20th Century Fox logo, there's some mountain peak that we were not able to see before in past trailers. Wondering maybe this is like Wundagore Mountain, you know, the one where the Scarlet Witch supposedly died. Behind Wolverine, there is some kind of airship crashed into the mountainside. I was thinking maybe the Hindenburg if it didn't explode, or maybe it's that Hydra Zeppelin that we saw for a few frames in that alternate reality in Multiverse of Madness when Doctor Strange and America Chavez were just like tumbling through reality after reality. You know, like the 12 seconds when Multiverse of Madness actually lived up to his title. Logan walks through this wheat field, gladiator style, with this row of endless pillars. These seem to be monuments or headstones for fallen X-Men, but the fact that they're all in a row at least reminded me, as a Lost fanatic, of that sonic frequency perimeter fence that kept out the smoke monster from one side of the island to the other. And I was thinking, hey, maybe this barrier could be in the void to keep Eliath out. But like, looking at how surreal this imagery is, this isn't the same part of the void that we see Eliath in the rest of the trailer. Looking more closely at these columns, each one kind of has almost a pyramid structure, and there's this like vertical insert that is carved into the sides, and
Maybe it
within
is a
each
cross.
insert in those shadows you can see some kind of disc that I assume might be the plaque referring to the name that each statue memorializes. And I want to say that these columns almost look like the Sentinel ships from the opening prologue of X-Men Days of Future Past. So maybe
They do.
each one of these is for a different X-Men who was killed by a Sentinel or something like that. But if this isn't the void, I wonder if this could be that kind of third act flashback that Deadpool jokes about in the other part of the trailer. Like, this could be a moment where Cassandra Nova projects Logan into the astral plane to make him suffer all the X-Men that he allowed to die, because it's just so dreamlike and surreal. It kind of feels like the kind of thing that when we see the 90s X-Men animated series, like when characters are taken to the astral plane, it tends to be more surreal and metaphorical like
I gotta
this.
finish
All right,
that
let's move on.
before I get to X-Men 97.
Let down his entire world. Want to talk about what's
Adamantium
haunting
skull
you,
to
or
the nose.
should
I
we
know
wait
that
for a
shit.
third act flashback?
Go yourself.
Okay, TVA agent Paradox, played by Matthew McFadden, says this Wolverine let down his entire world. And we see Wolverine face down on the floor of the TVA. So yeah, this is a one shot in both the trailers we've seen so far of Wolverine inside of the TVA. And notice how Paradox has taken a blow to the face with a band-aid covering a broken nose. So who is this Wolverine? I think we're looking at a Wolverine from a different timeline who failed to stop a grisly fate of all the X-Men. It could have been a mutant massacre on Genosha by Cassandra Nova, or like a part of the timeline after the events of Days of Future Past where the X-Men all started wearing
Love
these
that
brightly
movie,
colored
man.
suits that were comic accurate, or maybe some incursion wiped them all out. It's worth noting that in the Genosha massacre in X-Men 97, the Watcher was overseeing it, suggesting some kind of multiversal importance to this event. I just want to remind everyone that despite the Fox X-Men films seeming to have forked into 3 to 4 different timelines and it all being kind of confusing to the viewers, one thing that I learned from my rewatch is that from Fox's perspective at least, they considered these movies to all be part of one shared history, a history that was weird but then got fixed or retconned by the events of Days of Future Past.
I think Days of Future Past should have just reset the whole timeline, for real, for real. You should have played off of that. You really could have reset the whole timeline with Days of Future Past. Honestly, I really think so. And I think Days of Future Past is the best X-Men movie. Quote me on it. I don't give a shit. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. And then the movie, I think y'all, the X-Men, the Fox X-Men, their best things are in like X-Men universe is no particular order. No, it's Logan and Days of Future Past. Those are their best movies. I don't give a shit what nobody said. Those are their best movies.
And that, in their eyes, First Class Generation, who we saw in X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men Dark Phoenix, would have aged.
Hold on.
In their eyes, First Class Generation, who we saw in X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men Dark Phoenix.
These suits are fucking clean, bro. These are clean suits in Dark Phoenix. I love these suits. Cause they're almost like track suits type esque. But I love how the X is like on their chest and it wraps around like above and under their arms to like go to the back. Like these suits are clean, bro. I fuck with these suits. I want that jacket. I want that jacket.
Would have aged into the OG cast, but then just kind of lived on a different but normal, typical X-Men life path that would have led to the ending we saw in Days of Future Past, and then onto Logan. And
worry about theft of your mail and packages?
Yeah, I guess that would make sense.
Wouldn't it be great if you could...
that at this
point, it would make sense for them to do it. It would have made sense for them to do it like that, because then everything would be a prequel. So like Apocalypse would have been a prequel. Dark Phoenix would have been a prequel. Logan would have just been the last X-Men movie ever. And then like Days of Future Past would have just been the last X-Men movie.
Point in history, Mr. Sinister would have arisen as the big bad, who was behind this vast plot to experiment on mutants as the rest of mutant kind was bred out of the population through the food supply. But we just never got to see this Mr. Sinister plan because Disney bought Fox before a New Mutants sequel could have led to an...
That shit was ass. I do not fuck with that movie.
Inferno Goblin Queen movie. That was the original plan. So this Wolverine character could have come from that Fox timeline if it were allowed to live on and didn't end in the 2017 Logan film. Or he could come from an entirely new timeline that we haven't spent a lot of time in. Maybe the X-Men universe that Monica Rambeau ended up in at the end of the Marvels. One that looks a lot more like the colorful X-Men animated series. So we see some great Wolverine Deadpool combat.
But what about the other timeline where Wolverine is like he's mind controlled or something, and they end up using his body, his mind to control him, to kill all the X-Men. That's what I'm thinking. This is that Wolverine is, because it would make sense if like there's no X-Men and people hate him because he couldn't protect them. It would make sense that would be that Logan. To me, it would. So I hope they go that route.
At here, Wolverine swipes his claws at Deadpool, who ducks the blows, and behind Wolverine, an older ship with 3 masts and rigging is visible. We did see a similar vessel in Loki episode 5 that I speculated could be the Santa Maria that was Columbus's flagship that struck a reef off the coast of present-day Haiti, and its wreckage was never recovered. And then on the far left, looks like a red and white striped circus tent. And since Hugh Jackman in this movie, I'm just gonna assume that it has to do with The Greatest Showman. Wolverine plunges his claws into Deadpool's crotch. Youch! Deadpool fires his guns into Wolverine's sides, and then Wolverine flips his head back right into Deadpool's face, and for a single frame, you can see that the butts of Deadpool's adamantium katanas are initialed DR. Trying to figure out what this is, maybe like Deadpool and Ryan. For what it's worth, in the past, Ryan Reynolds has said that his swords, at least his old ones, before these adamantium ones, those were named B and Arthur because Deadpool loves B. Arthur. So we see Wade sitting with Logan in this restaurant, and I love how Wade still has the staples in his head with chunks of hair from where his hairpiece was attached before the TVA hunter ripped it off. And Wade wonders if we'll get to what's haunting Wolverine in a third act flashback, which is really just like a screenwriting trope in which they'll try to humanize the antagonist during the film's climax, like Anton Ego in Pixar's Ratatouille, that Campbell's Soup ad parody. And by the way, there is a theory that the reason the Ratatouille recipe works so well on Anton is that the farmhouse where Remy first glimpsed some recipes with the old woman who shoot him away was the same furniture of the farmhouse that young Anton lived in that flashback, and that Remy was actually making Anton's mom's recipe. But anyway, Ryan Reynolds has always sought to subvert these screenwriting structural tropes, and with the 2016 Deadpool, he kind of interwove Wade's flashback throughout the film in the first and second act, really just leave the third act as all action. And with Cable in Deadpool 2, he revealed what was haunting Cable with his introduction in Act 2. But Wolverine's response is, go yourself, which is the iconic line he says to Charles in Magneto and X-Men First Class.
Go f yourself.
Okay, so we're just gonna break down the rest of the trailer because there's like Madonna music in it and they're gonna flag us. So Deadpool and Wolverine round a corner past this cart for donuts, bagels, and churros, like the churro carts of Disneyland. There's a neon sign for a bar called Copperheads, and in Marvel Comics there is a Serpent Society villain named Copperhead. Not sure if it's related, but you'll notice that Wolverine is now no sleeves, baby, and he looks a lot like he did in the 90s animated series version of the character, down to the red X belt buckle. Yet he doesn't have a mask, and he did take off like the shoulder pad armor parts. He just tore off everything that was there. Reportedly, Hugh Jackman was worried about skin cancer on his arms, which is something that he has dealt with before. So in the exterior shots, over in the dust of the void, the sleeves are on, whereas this setting looks covered. And it might just be me, but I know Hugh Jackman is incredibly jacked, but his arms, maybe they're just hairless, but they do kind of look really smooth. So maybe he's wearing some kind of sleeves, but also I obviously don't know how arms like that are supposed to look. Deadpool is now carrying golden guns, which I think might be a reference to the dual golden guns of Face Off. Face Off definitely seems like the kind of movie Deadpool would reference at this point of the film. The 2016 movie ended with him stapling Hugh Jackman's face over his face. The storefronts behind them include Eastside Pharmacy Medical Center, and then Liefeld's Just Feet, Orthopedic Solutions, and amazing Easter egg. So Rob Liefeld is a co-creator of the Deadpool character, and he has been mocked over the years for his character designs with hulked out heroes with insane proportions, an abundance of pouches, and an apparent inability to draw feet. Notice that the sign also says quality assured, free consultation, custom footwear, 014-3877. So here in this void, the Rob Liefeld, or maybe his variant, who's a foot expert, got pruned from existence, and that could be why the Rob Liefeld of our reality is so bad at drawing feet. There's also a little Sage flowers and gifts. There's a mutant named Sage who was part of the Hellfire Club and recently played a big role on Krakoa, monitoring the gateway system and being part of X-Force. Now, in the car, Deadpool shows Wolverine his birthday party Polaroid with his friends, telling Wolverine, I don't know anything about saving worlds, but you do. So it seems like Wade's own reality is under threat. This could connect to the rumored plot device of anchors in this movie, where in every universe there exists one individual whose death triggers the collapse of their universe, like the Owen Reese Molecule Man plot in Jonathan Hickman's Time Runs Out storyline that leads in the 2015 Secret Wars event that Avengers Secret Wars will adapt. And maybe in Wade's universe, it's this lonely suicidal Wolverine in the bar whose soul Deadpool has to save to keep him in place as an anchor. But to save that soul, he has to figure out what makes all Wolverines tick, including this other Wolverine down in the void, and other variants that we could see in this movie, like a patch Wolverine from the casino in the Super Bowl trailer, played by Daniel Radcliffe or Taron Egerton. Wait, DR on the katana, could that be Daniel Radcliffe? I don't know why you would put the actor's name on the ends of his katanas. The more you use something, the more perfect it's gotta be. A suitcase you use once a year, yeah, just give me whatever will fit enough clean underwear for the trip. But underwear? The stuff you wear? All they got is comfortable. I got this pair. MeUndies also has all kinds from heads that care. Good things come in MeUndies smoothly out Rockstars. But then we get this great close-up of Wolverine's claws snifting smoothly out of their metallic sheaths in his knuckles. And I feel like these slots would also have to be made out of adamantium to contain these claws so well so that they didn't tear through the gloves. So from whatever timeline this Wolverine is from, Professor X and Beast and Forge or whoever it was had to get their hands on additional adamantium and create these awesome gloves. And while I assume the claws that we see here are VFX, they do add these little details to the metal, like surface texturing and smudges and reflections from the neighboring claws, and that all just make them feel real and super sharp. I just love this shot so much. Okay, next, some incredibly bloody shots in the snowy forest of Deadpool killing these TVA agents. And if you look closely, Deadpool is using a tree branch, so he must be stabbing through this TVA armor with such incredible force to be able to smash through the armor and send pieces of the armor flying upward like that. So we're pretty sure that this setting is North Dakota, near the Canadian border, where in 2017's Logan and the Young Mutants spot the Reavers and X-24 on their way to freedom, and this is where Logan is buried. In the Super Bowl trailer, you can see in the background the truck that Richter overturned in that final battle. So maybe Deadpool finding the felled tree that was
the fight with the Avengers, which I thought it was, but I guess it's not.
24 impaled Logan on to deliver that killing blow, considers this tree sacred with some kind of divine power, and he just decides to use a branch that he tore off of it to kill these TVA agents the way Logan died, so that they have to feel his pain for desecrating the sacred turf. Okay, the next shot shows the villain of this movie, Cassandra Nova, played by Emma Corrin, coming from the open skull mouth of the corpse of a giant Ant-Man, which we do see a better shot of later. But in this first shot, you see behind her what appears to be a wheelchair that she initially rolled up in, but now she gets up. Maybe a kind of like Willy Wonka, I can actually walk kind of fake out introduction. So could this wheelchair be Charles's chair? Did this Cassandra already kill Charles in her timeline? So just a reminder, Cassandra Nova is known as Charles Xavier's evil twin, but it's actually darker and crazier than that. Cassandra was really Charles's Mumudrai, which is a term from the Shi'ar Empire. The Shi'ar are an alien race who we spent some time with in episode 6 of X-Men 97. A Mumudrai is kind of like a spiritual cosmic shadow self that every person has, but in the case of Charles Xavier, his advanced telepathy caused his Mumudrai to manifest in flesh, a fetus joining him in the womb. These two fetuses fought, and Charles destroyed her, but part of her clung to life in a sewer and grew into Cassandra Nova, who comes back for revenge, and Grant Morrison's E is for Extinction storyline in 2001 and 2002. And she is one of the most savage villains in all of X-Men comics. And yes, she does actually wear a tan trench coat and pants and boots looking exactly like this in the comics. So Cassandra in the comics finds in the jungles of Ecuador a master mold, a giant sentinel printing machine, and uses that and Boulevard Trask to print a wild sentinel, a three-headed kaiju that she deploys against Genosha to kill 16 million mutants. We actually see this massacre in X-Men 97, and we're kind of waiting to see if Cassandra Nova is behind this attack, or if it's the doing of another villain that they've introduced in the show, like Sinister, or maybe Bastion or Apocalypse, or maybe all of them. But I just love that casting Emma Corrin, who's best known for playing the younger Diana Spencer in The Crown, as someone who hates, above all else, an Englishman named Charles. That's pretty perfect, right? So Deadpool slashes his adamantium katanas at Wolverine's claws, and going frame by frame through this, I'm just so amazed at Hugh Jackman's rage that Deadpool would have the nerve. Deadpool crosses his katanas between the first and second of Wolverine's claws to stop the attack. And it looks like the swords have these golden edges. You actually see these golden edges in close-up later as this TVA tailor with the white gloves carefully slides these adamantium katanas into the sheath on Deadpool's back. And in the CinemaCon footage, this is a guy who keeps slapping Deadpool's ass, and Deadpool tells the other TVA employee that this guy's a predator and they need to call HR. Now, this blue van seems to be the same bloody vehicle that Deadpool was in that Super Bowl trailer where the seats were covered in bloody Wolverine claw marks and Deadpool was like waving them in. And now we see Wolverine responding to that, lunging toward Wade in the back seat of this van. But in a wide shot, Deadpool just suddenly flies up through the sunroof. What happened there? Notice you don't really see Wolverine in that particular shot of the car from the outside. And I feel like the slapstick physics could be explained by Deadpool planking atop Wolverine's body, and Wolverine is just like, get the hell off me, and thrust Deadpool in the air because he's so disgusted. And Deadpool just flies because, you know, he's like a super lightweight cartoon. Then we get this cool shot of Cassandra Nova sipping a teacup. I might be totally wrong about this, but her teacup looks like it might be patterned with the heraldry of Wrexham AFC. That's the football club owned by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. You do see what looks like a W and maybe the dragon, but instead of red, it's gold. I might just be seeing things there. But there is this wide shot of the purple cloud of Eliath covering the sun. And in this shot, you can see that it's not just Ant-Man's head, it is the entire giant body. So this detail was inspired by Old Man Logan, the amazing and gnarly comic series where an elderly Logan partners with a blind Clint Barton on this crazy road trip across a post-apocalyptic America where basically the villains have won, and at one point they pass the corpse of a giant Hank Pym. And now it's not clear if this giant Ant-Man is Hank Pym, which would be Michael Douglas, or Scott Lang, Paul Rudd. But if it is the latter, he could have come from the Battle of Earth in Avengers Endgame. Also remember that in the Void in Loki episode 5 was the giant helmet of Yellow Jacket that could be connected to this. But this helmet opens to reveal the skull with the teeth underneath. The fact that Cassandra Nova lives inside of this corpse is so cool. It reminds me of characters in the MCU using the skull of the Celestial Nowhere as a place to live. Also the rumors that the corpse of Tiamat, the Celestial, could be used as the Avengers' new base, like how in the comics the Avengers turned the progenitor into Avengers Mountain at the North Pole. Now in the shot of Cassandra inside of this place later, it almost looks like she could be building some kind of Cerebro inside that skull, but I actually think this is specific to being Ant-Man's corpse. In Quantumania, Scott Lang entered the quantum realm's probability storm, where his brain became entangled with all other Scott Langs in the multiverse. And that could have done something to his brain matter, as well as the minds of all other Scotts. Like Cassandra could be using this particular weird brain to amplify her telepathy throughout the multiverse. Now, this giant Ant-Man reveal is just the master shot of the trailer because it has so much in it, so many cameos. So right up front there, that's Azazel, the devilish teleporting member of the Hellfire Club from X-Men First Class, played by Jason Fleming. He's back, as well as Lady Deathstrike from X2 X-Men United, played by Kelly Hu. You can also see Aaron Stanford Pyro on the background right, seated on his vehicle as he was back in the Super Bowl trailer. And then on the left, that is Callisto, Danya Ramirez, leader of the Omegas from X-Men The Last Stand, and crouching beside her with the green hair, that is Toad, Ray Park, returning for the very first X-Men film in 2000. He also, of course, played Darth Maul in Star Wars Phantom Menace. And then all the way on the left, in the foreground, you don't even really notice him at first because his face is covered, but notice that long blonde hair. I'm pretty sure this is Sabretooth, Tyler Mane, who would also be returning for that first.
I thought it was Caliban. I didn't know that was hair. I thought it was like some type of cover that he got and then put the hat on. That's Sabretooth? Tough.
Film. Meanwhile, the bulky dude in the red and white striped shirt, this could be the Russian who is played by wrestler Kevin Nash in Thomas Jane's 2004 The Punisher. Now, what the mutant
Dang,
characters have
I
in
need to
common
see
is
that.
that they were all villains from the X-Men universe 10005, as it is currently designated, and all these characters died. Like Wolverine killed Lady Deathstrike by plugging her with liquid adamantium in Stryker's lab. Azazel was killed off-screen by Bolivar Trask's experiments between X-Men First Class and Days of Future Past. Toad and Sabretooth both died in the Liberty Island battle. Callisto was knocked out by Storm and was for sure obliterated by Phoenix when she wiped out everyone on Alcatraz. Pyro, presumed obliterated as well, but in the Days of Future Past Rogue Cut, there is a memorial that includes Pyro's Zippo lighter, implying that he would have died sometime after that. I think the implication of the pruned 20th century Fox logo and the fact that it's not 21st century tells us that there was some incursion with Earth 10005 and that this entire history from the Fox era was erased. And maybe some souls might have been lucky and spared and reassigned to other universes, but these were the misfits who were left behind to waste. The vehicles in the shot are also worth mentioning because in the background on the left, that is the Fantastic Four Model 1, aka the Flying Bathtub, a version of which we saw in Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, a movie that we're breaking down this weekend on New Rockstars. But on the right is the V16 coupe of Red Skull from Captain America: The First Avenger. But notice in the next shot, that Hydra Mercedes hood ornament has been replaced with an Iron Man head, and it has been painted to have the flames on black decor of Tony Stark's Roadster hot rod from the 2008 Iron Man film. This is so cool. So my hot take is that the masked driver of this vehicle could be, wait for it, Terrence Howard, the original roadie, pruned to the...
Imagine this nigga come back. What is that? Yo, I ain't gonna lie, that'd be crazy. And like, he's this version, or he's this universe's version of Rhodey. That'd be crazy. I ain't gonna lie. That's a crazy thing. I ain't gonna lie, that's kind of a dick move too, though. It's like, yeah, you played Rhodey at first, and we replaced you. But guess what? You can come back in this cameo. That'd be crazy.
The Void. Now, Terrence Howard parted ways with Marvel under bitter terms before Iron Man 2, when Don Cheadle replaced him. But maybe the part as scripted in the script could give...
Crest 3D White Daily Whitening Serum. It's a game changer.
What did they show, like...
15 times...
a chance to get the...
What did they show, like, in a movie, or like Deadpool, or like something happening where they swap out the characters, and like, people don't really realize it? Or people just like, oh no, that's Rhodey. Like, nothing's wrong with him type shit. Like, what's wrong with him? They look the exact same type shit. You know? What if they did some shit like that? That'd be funny. Like, for the simple fact that he left, and like everybody know it, and then like Don Cheadle just became War Machine after that. Like, what if they did some shit like that?
Last lap. If it's not Terrence Howard, my guess is that it's going to be someone else from Tony Stark's orbit. Maybe Harley Keener, maybe Christine Everhart, or maybe William Ginter Riva. Like, the guy could have figured out how to make something from a box of scraps. I just listed a couple lower tier actors because, you know, their budget for cameos is not unlimited in this movie. Also, in the background of this V16 shot is the Golden Gate Bridge that was pruned from the events of X-Men: The Last Stand. We see Wolverine gargling with a bottle of Jack Daniels, and I assume this is his man cave where he lives. And we know from a later shot in the trailer that this is the same location that has the giant jawbone framed bed that Hulk slept on in Thor Ragnarok. There's a quick cameo by Dogpool wearing little shoes while the pup licks Deadpool with the longest, most disgusting tongue. And notice that they are in front of Liefeld's just feet as it explodes. Then we get this Mad Max Fury Road type shot of one of these scavengers reining 4 motorcycles like horses. The one closest to us is the Hydra motorcycle from Captain America: The First Avenger. You can see the Hydra logo near the bottom of it. One of these other motorcycles is definitely the one Steve Rogers rode in that film. The vehicle that they are towing is the one that has the Canadarm attachment used for the NASA Space Shuttle Columbia. And the dish on the end of that arm looks like the Bifrost pattern, and I think it's used to repel or to summon Alioth. An explosion Roxy's Bifrost pattern attachment used for the NASA Space Shuttle in that film. The vehicle that they are towing is the one that...
Don't that kind of look like the vehicle from Black Widow? Or am I tripping? Cause didn't it look like that? Hold on, I do want to see.
one's yours? Left, brown seat. Where are my keys? Suchka. Any day now. Suchka. Any day now.
You can't just steal a guy's car. So you want me to chase him down and plan was to drive.
Kind of looks like it. It looks like it. I'm not gonna lie.
Put your seatbelts on. Such a mom.
That's a good shot. Fuck. Look at that. That's the same thing. That's the jump from Black Widow. Crazy.
Has the Canadarm attachment used with the NASA Space Shuttle Columbia, and the dish on the end of that arm looks like the Bifrost pattern, and I think it's used to repel or to summon Alioth. An explosion rocks these four guys, and if you look closely at the walls behind them, these are actually the gloved fingers of the giant Ant-Man functioning as the gates to this compound, and that's such a cool detail. In Cassandra's lair, Wolverine tries to attack, but she telekinetically redirects his arms into his own leg. Emma Corrin is so fun to watch here. The face they make as Cassandra puppets Wolverine, it's almost as if to say, wah wah, so close. Also, take a look at Cassandra's fingers. Is it just me, or do they look super long? Did they digitally enlarge Emma Corrin's hands to make Cassandra look more villainous? I don't know, it may just be the anamorphic lens that they seem to be using for a lot of these shots. Like, it's especially noticeable in the money shot of the giant Ant-Man head compound where you see all the cameos. Like, notice how the edges of that frame are just kind of like a little out of focus, a little like artistic, brushstrokey. That's what an anamorphic lens does as opposed to a spherical lens. But then we see Cassandra directing Wolverine's claws into the floor. And notice how even this floor is textured in some interesting way. It's almost like she scavenged this floor from somewhere else. And I want to say it could be like the walls of Camartage. It kind of just looks like there's different patterns and pieces to this floor with some like engravings on them. Okay, so Wolverine and Deadpool leap from their van, and the grip guards of Deadpool's katanas have these little Deadpool eyes on them. So when Deadpool stabs someone, the last thing they would see is just another little Deadpool face staring at them. Both Deadpool, then Wolverine say, "Let's go!" And then they take the huge leap from the eye hole of the Ant-Man skull, and then they leap into a sling ring portal. And one of these must have been cast by a sorcerer, maybe Doctor Strange, or Wong, or the Ancient One, or America Chavez, or Rintrah, or I guess technically Ned? In Spider-Man No Way Home, sling ring portals just like this were used to open a rift between universes to get the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Peter Parkers into the MCU. And I feel like that's where these two are headed. And I love how the lighting within Alioth behind this portal flickers just as they cross the portal threshold, which gives the shot some great purple versus gold color contrast as these two are silhouetted on white. And it recalls how in Spider-Man No Way Home, the purple reality rifts showed incursions between universes. Now notice how this trailer whites out the destination. I don't think it's gonna look like that in the movie. I think they just left it blank in this trailer to avoid a huge spoiler, and it lets our imaginations wander to fill in that blank canvas. But think about it. What setting would be so iconic that we would recognize it immediately? I'm thinking this is going to be one of the portals that Wong opened to the front line of the Battle of Earth and Avengers Endgame. And we're gonna cycle back to that moment, and right as he says he wanted more, Deadpool and Wolverine are gonna walk right into frame. And we're gonna see a replay of the Battle of Earth. Like, we're gonna hear Deadpool say, "I am Deadpool," as he snaps the Infinity Stone in Tony Stark's place to kill Thanos. Because the CinemaCon footage gave us this little tease that we see Deadpool in Thor's arms from Svartalfheim in Thor the Dark World, where Loki died. And Paradox says it's...
So he's saying it could possibly end like how Deadpool 2 was, when he was just going back and like restoring different timelines.
distant future. But really, I think what they're saying with that is that Deadpool could cycle into any iconic MCU moment. So why not I Am Iron Man? And also in the CinemaCon footage, there was another moment that showed an earlier scene of the movie where Peter says, "We are Deadpool," and Deadpool rejects that. And I think the way Ryan Reynolds says, "I am Marvel Jesus,"
I am Marvel Jesus.
I think this is to set him up to say Tony Stark's big line to save MCU's anchor, Tony Stark, for him to say, "I am Deadpool." But I just saw this. If you look closely, you can see Cassandra Nova to the left of Wolverine as he's jumping through the portal, just on the edge of the sparks there, in the background, smiling at them with a raised eyebrow. And I think that might be blood on her mouth. So clearly she wants them to make this jump, and maybe she plans on following them. Okay, the trailer ends with Wade and Blind Al at his birthday party, which was also in the CinemaCon footage.
Want to do some cocaine?
Hey, cocaine is the one thing that Feige said is off limits.
What about Bolivian marching powder?
They know all the slang terms. They have a list.
Even snowboarding?
Even disco dust.
White girl interrupted?
Even forest bump.
So this pillow behind Al is the Smoko Macho Nacho Mochi plushie. It's a nacho dead from hot sauce. So basically what Conan O'Brien looks like now, I assume. Blind Al's cocaine calls back the past two films when their cocaine stash was hidden beneath the floorboards near The Cure for Blindness. Among their euphemisms for cocaine are White Girl Interrupted, a nod to the 1999 film with Winona Ryder and Angelina Jolie and Brittany Murphy, as well as Forrest Bump, which other than rhyming with Forrest Gump, I choose to think it's a reference to how Forrest Gump can't stop running, or maybe a reference to when Jenny tried to jump off a ledge after doing lines. Now, to be clear, cocaine was referenced in the MCU in an episode of Ms. Marvel, so Feige doesn't have that hard of a rule against it. But Blind Al ends this by saying, "Do you want to build a snowman?" Of course, referencing Frozen, and Wade says that he does want to but can't. And it reminds us how in Deadpool 2, Wade watches the Barbra Streisand musical film Yentl and makes this observation.
Can you hear me? Is it just me, or do you want to build a snowman from Frozen sound suspiciously like Papa Can You Hear Me from Yentl?
So we must end this trailer breakdown with our Taylor Swift Dazzler watch. If you have been following New Rockstars, you know that since the NFL playoffs, I've been looking closely at Taylor Swift's connections to Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy and Hugh Jackman to see if she could cameo in this movie, maybe to play the mutant Dazzler, as it seemed like she was expected to in 2016's X-Men Apocalypse, because she was like friends with Sophie Turner, and there's like a photo of her with like a Dazzler album cover. And I was totally ready to just give up on this theory, but then last week, Taylor Swift releases her new album, The Tortured Poets Department, and the final track on the standard edition of that album, Clara Bow, ends with her singing this word.
The future's bright, dazzling.
Dazzling. I mean, come on. Taylor Swift is known for Easter eggs in her songs pointing to her past boyfriends, including Tom Hiddleston, and her future career moves. I'm not saying this is like a smoking gun, but the clues are at least pointing in that direction. Comment down below with what you love the most about this trailer. Follow me at EA Voss. Subscribe to all 3 channels in the New Rockstars Network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love.
Now?
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Fuck. She got 1 million. Everybody was waiting for this video. Nah, that's a W. I fuck with that. That's cool.